Members of Ward Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C., and 2.5 million others around the world are celebrating a moment in their church's history. In 1787, an event occurred which seemed negative at the time, but gave rise to many positive results, which we'll explore in today's program.
CBS presents For Our Times. Today, Allen's Heirs, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Here is CBS News correspondent Douglas Edwards.
The African Methodist Episcopal, or AME Church, is a worldwide body. Over 2.5 million members are spread throughout 8,000 congregations in 29 countries. The denomination runs 4 four-year colleges, 2 seminaries, several junior colleges, and a publishing house. Schools and social service programs are run by various congregations. The AME Church has been active in economic development and political and social movements. This all started with humble beginnings. At the church's finance office in Washington, D.C., we spoke with Bishops John Hurst Adams, Venton Anderson, and Rembert Stokes about their church's early history and founder, Richard Allen.
Richard Allen was born in slavery in Delaware and purchased his own freedom and eventually came to Philadelphia.
In 1787, we referred to it as the Allen event. That was the occasion when Richard Allen and some of his cohorts, worshiping in St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia, were pulled from their knees while at prayer. And seeking to finish their prayer, they were still pulled from their knees and decided to get up and walk out of the church rather than be dehumanized and insulted.
First, there was established the Free African Society, led by Richard Allen. But it evolved into the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The other group, led by Absalom Jones, eventually became Episcopalians. Well, Richard Allen, in the Free African Society, established some teaching of these free Africans in money management, literacy where that was necessary, and living according to good Methodist principles.
One of the things he did was to establish what I think they call a free produce society, so that black people would not purchase goods that were produced by slaves. And so they were involved in a number of the abolitionist movements trying to free black people.
The Christian Recorder, which is our in-house church paper, is the oldest black newspaper in continuous publication in the United States, even right this very day. So in education, communications, business development, and social protests are all areas in which the Richard Allen and his immediate followers gave pioneer leadership in the country, and these were in response to the pain of black people in our country.
Worshippers held services in a blacksmith shop and eventually built their own structure, Mother Bethel Church in Philadelphia. In 1816, independent black churches from Philadelphia, Baltimore, and 3 other cities met in Philadelphia to formally establish the AME Church with Richard Allen as bishop.
Any great idea which surfaces will soon be lost if it is not institutionalized in order to preserve the idea. I think this is what the whole Christian church is about. That's generally what happened. The idea of Christianity in Jesus was institutionalized. That may have harmed the idea some, but it also preserved it for succeeding generations. The impulse of Richard Allen for self-help, self-determination, self-dignity and self-worth, all of the things which black folks needed to affirm in the midst of a slave society, had to be institutionalized in order that that thrust in America would be preserved.
In addition to Allen, the church's bicentennial celebration focuses on 3 other key figures.
Paul Quinn was what we consider the great expansionist in our church. He carried the church across the Mississippi River to the slave people. Daniel Payne, as Bishop Adams noted a while ago, the founder of Wilberforce University, we call him our apostle of education. The 4th person is Henry McNeil Turner, who was a legislator in Georgia during Reconstruction, was the first military chaplain in the United States, and was a very strong leader in the development of our work overseas. So he was sort of a pioneer in missionary work.
One institution built by the AME Church is Wilberforce University. Another is Payne Theological Seminary, both near Xenia, Ohio. Wilberforce, named for British abolitionist William Wilberforce, was the country's first university founded by Afro-Americans. Wilberforce and Payne have counted many illustrious Americans among their students. Opera singer Leontine Price, newly elected Congressman the Reverend Floyd Flake of New York, and half of the denomination's 19 bishops are a few examples. Payne Theological Seminary's academic dean, Dr. Paul R. Griffin, is a church historian. He talked about Wilberforce's founder, Bishop Daniel A. Payne.
Payne actually believed that God had called him to educate the black race. He built his first school in 1829 in Charleston, South Carolina, to educate black children as well as adults. The slaveholders closed the school, so he came north, and he himself studied at Gettysburg Theological Seminary. Xenia was a very hostile environment for blacks, and the white Methodists who had originally founded Wilberforce in 1853 found it politically expedient to abandon the school, to sell it. They offered it up for sale, and in 1863, Daniel Payne purchased it for the AME Church. Shortly after he bought it, matter of fact, on the eve of Lincoln's assassination, the whites in Xenia torched the school, burned the school to the ground. He attracted other blacks here, such as even the radical AME that is well known in history, Henry McNeil Turner. Some of the people that we today point back to as being black leaders who were out in the forefront of trying to either help eradicate slavery or help blacks overcome slavery during the Reconstruction era. Payne had actually brought them to Wilberforce's students or as some of his colleagues on the faculty.
One of the houses used by the Underground Railroad is still standing near Wilberforce. Dr. John E. Brandon is president of Payne.
We need to continue that thrust in education, and education at Payne Seminary that particularly focuses on the black experience within the community and within these United States and wherever students go to serve from Payne Seminary. And that kind of education needs to be supported, and there's no substitute for it, really, in order for our communities to be what they ought to be.
Dr. Yvonne Walker Taylor is president of the 800-student Wilberforce University. An alumna and daughter of a former Wilberforce president, she's the institution's first female president. She attributes this partly to Daniel Payne's foresight.
He exhibited a certain modern thinking because he not only wanted education for black males, and I want this very clearly noted, he also insisted that females be allowed to go to school as well. Now that was unique that early. We have been very versatile in changing our majors to suit the needs of the times. We have not just remained with preaching and teaching. That's what we used to have to do. Why? Because that's all we could do. There were no other job offers available. Now, Wilberforce University is a cooperative education school, and we offer the most viable majors for these times. We are not a school that simply is promoting African Methodism. We're simply a school that is open to, we have Newman clubs here, we have the AME club, we have the Baptist club, and the kids divide themselves up and go to church on Sundays. They don't always go to our church on the campus. We preserve the black culture, for instance, and we try to teach the students what their backgrounds are like, so that in itself builds self-esteem, which will then elevate one's value system. If you think you're no good, your values are going to be the equivalent of no good. But if you think that you are, that you come from a proud and an intelligent race of people who have endured all that they've endured in order to have survived this long, we have to be strong. We had to have been strong, no question about that.
In Baltimore, Maryland, we visited Bethel Church in the city's Upton section. Bethel, Baltimore came into being in much the same way as Mother Bethel in Philadelphia. The Reverend Dr. John R. Bryant is Bethel's senior minister.
Between 1785 and 1787, we left the main white Methodist congregations here, Lovely Lane, and because of discrimination and what have you, and we started our own service in the house of a layperson, and we really initially started under lay leadership. We received our first pastor at the turn of the century, Daniel Coker, and we were incorporated for the first time in 1811, which is 5 years before the denomination was officially organized.
Bethel's 6,000-member congregation supports a wide array of religious, educational, and social service programs run by a staff of 21 assistant ministers and others.
We have cross-generational programs. We have a senior citizen program. We have a ministry to couples, trying to work with the whole notion of the family and family unity. It is incumbent upon us to share with our family members in our community constituency how to stretch the dollar. So we run a food co-op, we run a credit union, we run an energy co-op, so that we can even buy our fuel oil cooperatively.
Bethel's Outreach Center services many of the area's low-income residents. The Reverend Kismat Alim, a former teacher, is the center's director.
At the Outreach Center, we have several components. We have our faith store, which consists of giving out free clothing and shoes and small household items to those people in need. And people are free to come as often as they would like to receive those articles. We also have an emergency food pantry where we service those people who don't have any food in their homes at all. And we also have a financial aid component trying to assist those people with gas and electric turn-off notices, rent eviction, and medical prescription. We have an employment component of the Outreach Center where we try to meet the needs of those people in our community who are unemployed. So we try to make them job ready, and we go out and try to find jobs for them. And in the meantime, employers call us trying to seek people to work for them. We have an emergency housing component where we try to find emergency shelter for the homeless. So we have a linkage with the Baltimore Shelter Network, trying to match homeless people with a shelter, with a place to live.
Bethel also has a teen parent enrichment program.
Also, we started our own school. We were not satisfied completely with the public school system. We believed that we could do a better job with a two-prong undergirding. One is the whole ethnic concentration of who you are as a person, who you are as a creature of God, your blackness, taking that in consideration, but most important, the religious faith. We also have a BBI, Bethel Bible Institute, which is for theological and Bible study that we run here in the area of religious leadership training for those persons who are interested in a deeper walk in the faith.
The first thing we have to do as lifestyle evangelists is to get the person's attention by coming at their level. All right.
The Reverend Dubai Thomas, a former member of Bethel, is now assistant pastor at another church. She taught an evangelism class at the Bible Institute.
And there's some people who do that here. Yeah. So you have to ask God to give you that type of discerning spirit so that you can move at their level and find out where they are. If it means that you're sitting on the bus with someone and you talk about how messed up the weather is. That's right. That's right. Or if you talk about who lost the game. Or you tell somebody how nice they look. You know, as women, we have a tendency to be so vain sometimes that when someone looks good, instead of us saying, sister, that looks good on you, we sit there and say, it looks terrible on it. And we know that it looks good on it.
Joan Corsi, an actress and teacher, has taken other classes at the Institute and plans to study for ordination.
I'll be teaching a course here next semester, and ye shall be my witnesses, and it will be basically speech and communications, and we'll be preparing to not only speak to large groups, recognizing the dynamics of the groups, but also speaking to people in interpersonal relationships, trying to build them up, learning to listen, for example, learning to read the Bible, learning to just read the Word of God so that it's meaningful to others as well as yourself.
John H.T. Neal, Jr., who teaches arts and crafts to senior citizens, is also a Sunday school teacher at Bethel.
So, evangelism to me is inspiring others to come to Christ, to let them know they don't have to suffer without Him. Suffer in Him is better than suffering without Him.
We also have an associate arts degree program that we run in conjunction with Baltimore College. And as I said before, this is for basically inner city women to get them an AA degree. And we're excited about those educational kinds of thrusts, which is very much in keeping with the whole tradition and history of the AME Church.
The Associate Arts degree classes are held at Bethel's Women's Center, which hosts workshops and various classes. Deacon Charlotte Matthews, a former Pentecostal and mother of 6, was inspired to return to school for her high school diploma after joining Bethel. She is assistant minister for church life and development.
We do a lot of counseling here. Women that comes in the center that's abused, people that needs to be counseled on different things like drugs. And most of all, we are here to help the women, to let them know that God still lives within this world and that they need to know that God is here to help them through us.
We do not see ourselves as a social service agency, and we don't ever want to be reduced to that. Our major business is saving souls. And the major thing that we have to offer to people is the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. And one of the capstones of that gospel is hope. Hope that a people need and not despair. And so as we look at the mountain, we do not despair over its height nor the difficulty of the climb, but we are just happy that we have a Savior who can help us get across, and we are committed to join in that great procession of our mothers and fathers who didn't give up, but who kept fighting and who kept climbing, and that's the way we see ourselves even in 1987.
St. Louis, Missouri is an historic area. The Mississippi River separated slaveholding Missouri from free Illinois in those troubled days leading to Civil War. The Dred Scott case, in which a black man unsuccessfully challenged his slave status in the courts, was decided here. and it was to this region that William Paul Quinn came on horseback in the 1830s. He founded scores of new congregations, the first of which was St. Paul's. We attended a regular weeknight prayer service for some of the church's 2,000 members, led by Pastor G. Garnett Henning.
I don't know how many people know, that when this little bad girl was born, they told me she wouldn't live, and when I was in the hospital and I got on my knees and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I said, my baby is not going to die. And they called her the miracle baby. Because what she had was so rare, that it was just, they just didn't know. And as you can see, she's in rare form.
I was deeply moved by Ruby's testimony. She needed to come by and tell us how God brought her through. Tonight we begin our overview of the books of the New Testament.
The outspoken Paul Quinn, who was either part or all East Indian, was present at the AME Church's founding in 1816. A dispute with church leadership led to his expulsion. After 5 years, he was reinstated and sent west to organize churches and schools. The Reverend Dr. Henderson Davis is the church historiographer.
In the 1840s and 50s, still with slavery going at its highest rates, get the cotton gin and slavery really going, and the Mississippi River as a teeming place. Quinn came on into the free part of this middle of United States life, and he counted it a place of great promise for people of color and freed people of color. Priscilla Baltimore was a person living over here in the St. Louis area, and she regarded evidently William Paul Quinn as a messenger of life and hope, and she would be instrumental with the boat to bring him over here into St. Louis side, and so that he could be in personal contact with people here. At one occasion that's very dramatic, William Paul Quinn stood on the free side of the Mississippi River and preached, and it could be more than one occasion, preached to the slaves gathered to listen on the slave side of the Mississippi River in the state which is now Missouri, and then the free side, the state that is now, of course, Illinois. After he would work with the black people here, the slaves, the slave sentiment in Missouri was such that we don't have anybody coming over here talking to people the way you talk. You come at risk of your life. The next time you come, we kill you. But this did not end his ministry, because he would, at that point, go public by still staying on the free side and preaching here.
St. Louis is home to the Church Extension Department, created in 1892. The Reverend Dr. Hercules Miles is its secretary-treasurer.
The focus of the church is to attract more members, and by attracting more members, we must have the facilities that would warrant that. And so that's what we try to do in our department, to keep facilities where it would be attractive.
The AME Church extended nationally. It also established extensive missionary activities in many countries.
Well, our foreign missions began with Bishop Turner's visits to Southern Africa. And from that, a gradual expansion occurred.
it has been a deliberate missionary thrust of ours to try to serve all of the people of the African diaspora, African peoples all over the world. So we have had less activity in this regard in Europe than anywhere else, but in South America, the Caribbean, and Africa, and the United States of America and Canada, there has been extensive mission efforts sponsored by the African Methodist Episcopal Church to reach the people of African descent, primarily, though not exclusively.
We asked about the future.
We are entering the age of communications and information, and the fast relay of the same, and the quick judgment's going to have to be called, and we're going to have to streamline a rather cumbersome bureaucracy that prevents the AME Church from having the capacity to respond. So I would say, first of all, we need to develop a quick capacity to respond to where the pain is among our constituency.
There is some in-house work that needs to be done for us to be on target if we're going to deal with the kind of social issues and political issues which we face in the world. Multilingual and multicultural people have to be ministered to, and we need to be in on that. I think one of the great roles the AME Church is going to have to play in the future, as I think we've done in the past, is the building of community.
I think if we play a role in the upward movement of blacks, whether they remain African Methodists or become Presbyterians, it doesn't matter. It's all one kingdom, and we have made certainly a rich contribution in that direction.
I think that the bicentennial celebration will be the rallying point for those of us who are in the African Methodist Episcopal Church to develop a deeper sense of appreciation for the heritage that has been transmitted to us. And if there is a flickering flame amid the hopes of Richard Allen, that the bicentennial is an opportunity for us to relight that flame and for us to transmit something to the next generation as we prepare very soon to enter into another century.
The story, which began in 1787, contains within it many seeds. Anger turned to action created a support system for free blacks and enslaved people struggling to be free. Institutions which survived have preserved, modified, and extended the vision of their founders. Above all, glimmers of hope, nurtured in faith by Afro-Americans, affirm for all of us belief in the promise of the human spirit.
That I could.
This week on Time Capsule.
In the 1920s, a Des Moines man's dream was turned into reality and called Salisbury House. I'm Todd Magel. Join me for a fascinating look at one of the city's most prized landmarks.
He would rather have played for the New York Yankees, but he became America's most popular playwright. I'm Mary Brubaker with a close-up look at writer Neil Simon.
Join host Dave Buzik for Time Capsule, Sunday at 5:30 on TV8.
In Ottumwa, tune to Translator Channel 74 for better reception of TV8.